Lanka is a proud, wonderful and self-sufficient nation which inherited a rich history. If there was a war that affected the whole country since the Portuguese, Dutch and English foreign invasions, it was the LTTE terrorism. With the mature political acumen of President Mahinda Rajapaksa and under the valiant leadership of Secretary of Defence Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the brave war heroes were able to liberate our country from the curse of 30 years of war. At a time when our country was heading to be the wonder of Asia as a free and sovereign nation, unexpectedly in 2015, the path of the country was changed when the patriotic forces were defeated. An unfortunate, unstable as well as anarchic state was created and the country that was secured offering blood and tears was surrendered to foreign forces. Robbed the central bank in broad daylight, sold national resources such as ports and airports to foreigners, devastated the sovereignty, territorial integrity and dignity of the country, allowed the room to occur inhumane extremist Easter Sunday attacks, which added red spots to the glory of the war victory and endangered national security and public order. The people who desired a dignified and secure government demanded a leader who could revive the country in order to build a functioning country with a vision for success. When asked who was the successor who could fulfill that aspiration of the citizens, the whole country together said the name of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The competence and unique ability shown by the then Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa to make steadfast decisions in the humanitarian operation that brought peace to Sri Lanka after effectively ending the 30 years war, and as a ministry secretary in the process of urban development that transformed the capital, the suburbs and the whole country at the same time, was a great catalyst for that public demand. Sri Lankans warmly welcomed the arrival of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa as a leader who is not a politician by profession and as a leader who has long-term plans as well as an attractive program that could provide swift solutions to the growing public issues arisen as a result of an unpleasant and senseless regime. In the decisive presidential election on the destiny of the motherland, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, as the 7th executive president of Sri Lanka, secured a historic victory with a mandate of over 6.9 million, giving the country a hope for prosperity. The first 2 years of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's tenure of office, which set the country on a new path, were more challenging than the issues faced by any other president in history. The COVID-19 pandemic, which broke out in Wuhan, China, engulfing the entire world, was a blow to Sri Lanka's national economy, which had collapsed due to the Easter Sunday attacks. Even before the virus entered the country, strategies were made to cope with the crisis. As a visionary leader, the president took immediate steps to establish a presidential task force for this purpose. The first challenge was to repatriate all Sri Lankans living in fear of death in Wuhan. The government led by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa took the initiative to make this operation a success ahead of many countries that are considered to be developed in the world. After the virus entered the country, the government led by the president gave priority to the actions of the Presidential Task Force of COVID-19. The president did not hesitate to take the necessary decisions at the appropriate time, bringing together all sectors, including health service personnel at all levels, the tri-forces, the security forces and government officials. As a result of these efforts, Sri Lanka became one of the few countries that successfully managed COVID-19 pandemic. With the official announcement by the World Health Organization that vaccination is a scientific approach to control the disease, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructed all relevant parties to take the necessary steps to vaccinate the people of this country. Although in the early stages there was a shortage of COVID vaccines as a result of low production of vaccines against the demand, we were able to bring down required vaccines to Sri Lanka because President Gotabaya Rajapaksa personally spoke to heads of state in those countries. Accordingly, Sri Lanka was able to obtain all types of vaccines approved by the World Health Organization for vaccination. 1 year after the launch of the global vaccination program, more than half of the country's population has been fully vaccinated. By now, based on priority, administering Pfizer booster shots have begun to people over the age of 20 who have completed 6 months after their second dose. The government's implementation of this vaccination program free of charge at a huge cost is a global example. While the operation to control the disease was active in the country, a program was launched to repatriate our own people who were vulnerable overseas due to job losses and loss of health insurance coverage. That is how the President fulfilled his respective responsibility on behalf of the country's foreign exchange earning heroes. A massive state-sponsored quarantine process was also launched island-wide. Despite the crisis in the country's economy, the President had to take the difficult decision of imposing travel restrictions and quarantine curfews from time to time at the request of the health sector. However, as a people-centric leader, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa made a number of special measures to minimize the hardships faced by the people. Steps were also taken to maintain essential services without any interruption. An allowance of 5,000 rupees was given to each family to provide relief to the people who lost their income. In addition, 10,000 rupees worth of dried food items was provided to quarantined families. The facilities were provided to keep the economic hubs continuously active under maximum hygienic conditions. While the entire government under the leadership of the President has contributed to this determined effort, the task force led by Minister Basil Rajapaksa has borne the brunt of much of this national challenge. It is necessary to create a background to implement more positive practical proposals by consulting the rural population. It is the policy of the President to carry out the efforts to protect the country and build the village in a people-centric manner. To this end, Discussion with the Village program can be identified as a comprehensive development drive implemented by the President by selecting the remote villages in each district in order to uplift the rural sector. All these programs were evident of the people-centric nature of the decision of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's governance, no matter how difficult it may be as the leader of the country. During the past 2 years, amid the COVID-19 challenge, the Discussion with the Village program has been conducted in 17 villages that have never received the proper attention of a president in history. The President, who was accompanied by government officials representing all the fields, provided immediate solutions to all possible problems.
අපේ පාසලේ ක්‍රීඩා පිටිය තමයි අපිට දැන්ට තියෙන ගැටලුව.
හරි හෙට වෙනකොට හමුදාවෙන් එනවා ඒ ක්‍රීඩා පිටිය හදන්න.
A presidential task force was also established to provide long-term solutions to remaining problems. Officials were instructed to amend outdated laws that oppressed the people.
මනුස්සයන්ට කණ්ඩ වතුර අනම්මනම් සීලුම් ප්‍රශ්න අමාරුදත්තෙන් ඉන්නේ කුඹුරු පිටිය ඉඩකඩම් අඩුයි මේක උත්සාහනයක් කරගන්න රාජාංගනේ වැවේ ජලාශය පිටට දෙනවට වැඩිය ඔබතුමා මැදිහත් වෙලා මේක කරලා දෙනවා නම්
මම මේකට ප්‍රතිපාදන දෙන්නම්. මේක මේ උත්සාහන ව්‍යාපෘතිය කරලා දාන්න මන්ට ඒක කරලා දෙන්න. හොඳයි.
The necessary national policies were formulated as a government. After coming to power, the political culture of forgetting the people who supported it to gain the power and not visiting the village was changed. The dawn of development in remote villages has started. Problems that have been unresolved for a long time have been effectively addressed through the direct intervention of the head of the state. Similar to the city, the avenues of the prosperity have been opened to all the villages by improving the infrastructure facilities. The significant factor of the Discussion with the Village program is the follow-up process of all villages where the program was held. A separate unit has been set up to monitor the progress of the decisions taken by the President. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa will also visit all those villages again to see the physical progress of the projects implemented in those villages. Rebuilding the economy shattered by the Yahapalne government is one of the most difficult challenges faced by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The President himself has set an example in reducing government expenditure and has saved billions in the presidential expenditure head for the coming year as compared to the last year. The President also reduced the number of escort vehicles to 2. What the people really sought was a simple, honest leader. President Gotabaya, who has a great personality in terms of policy matters, has proven to be a modern leader with a very modest demeanor. The President chose to live in his private residence instead of the President's house in Colombo, which had high daily maintenance costs, and the public funds saved from as a result of this action were used for development work. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has nationalized his presidency in the fullest sense of the word. Despite all the challenges, the last 2 years have witnessed a massive revolution in infrastructure development covering all parts of the island. In accordance with the green concept, the city of Colombo has been transformed into one of the most beautiful and formal commercial cities in South Asia. And the Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte area has been transformed into a beautiful and systematic administrative city. A program was implemented to transform the cities into beautiful and complete cities covering all 25 districts of Sri Lanka. It may be difficult to believe that there are 123 divisional secretariats in our country without a single national school. It is a vision of the President to fulfill the aspirations of the free education by creating a national school for each of these divisions. Our country had to spend billions on the annual medicinal drug procurement process. At a time when not only India but also neighboring countries such as Bangladesh have made great strides in the field of pharmaceutical production, the President has taken measures to launch a number of projects in our country to manufacture the medicinal drugs required for our country. A total of 75,000 households were still without electricity. The government of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa expeditiously working to supply free electricity to all rural households under the Dayata Eliya program. A program has also been launched to rehabilitate 100,000 kilometers of rural road infrastructure across the island. In parallel to this, the construction of a small bridge project is also in progress. Steps were taken to expedite the construction of the Central Expressway, which was delayed during the Yahapalne era, allowing room for corruption and fraud. The section from Meerigama to Kurunegala of the expressway will be vested in the public in the near future. The halted constructions of the section from Kadawatha to Meerigama have been resumed. The Ruwanpura Expressway, which was limited only to plans, is becoming a reality. The construction of the new Kalani Bridge, which will ease the traffic congestion in Colombo, has been completed. This will create a novel landmark in Sri Lanka's roadmap. Also, the construction of the elevated highway towards Athirugiriya has begun. 5 flyovers are being built at Kohuwala, Getambe and several other places as a solution to mounting traffic congestion. What we witness today are the signs of revolutionary future of this country's road development. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa put an end to the governing method that bore hatred-filled feelings towards Buddhism, Mahasangha, the temple in our village and the historic Sinhala Buddhist heritage as a whole. Mr. Rajapaksa is an honest leader who believes in the triple gem. Therefore, the government led by the President has created a peaceful social environment where communities of all cultures and religions can live together, preserving their own identity. In our heritage, which is shaped by Buddhist philosophy, the environment has been given a prominent place. In general, all religions flourish through the basis of environment friendliness. The majority of Sri Lankans have been shaped by this religious upliftment. However, the damage caused to the environment due to our people resorting to chemical fertilizers and agrochemicals for several decades is immense. As a result of this, the fate that has befallen on the farmers who are regarded as kings who transformed Sri Lanka into a granary of the East by making the country self-sufficient in rice is tragic. The visible consequences of this include kidney diseases and blue baby syndrome. The leaders who were involved in a battle of preference instead of finding solutions to the root cause of the issues created treatment centers after allowing the people to get sick. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa makes correct decisions based on a clear and direct policy instead of taking decisions that will simply please the crowd. He made the revolutionary decision of transforming the country's farmlands into an environment-friendly agriculture by preventing the use of chemical fertilizers.
කවුරු මොනවා කිව්වත් රසායනික පෝර ගෙන්වීම සහ මේ කෘමිනාශක මම නවත්තනවා තව ටික දවසකින්.
It is quite unfortunate that despicable attempts are being made to reverse this historic transformation for the sake of short-term gains by those who are under the influence of financial power of the fertilizer companies operating in line with the agendas of the NGOs and becoming cat's paws of the manipulative political groups. Isn't it ironic that in a backdrop where human lives are at risk due to chemical fertilizers, some people instigated by various gangs resort to hunger strikes demanding chemical fertilizers? The government decided to pay an allowance of 7,500 rupees to farmers who produce organic fertilizer as an incentive. The government did not hesitate to import nano-nitrogen liquid fertilizer from India to meet the demand for nitrogen deficiencies in organic fertilizers produced in the country. By now, all fertilizers have been distributed among 562 agrarian services centers throughout the country. The farmers have started cultivating 200,000 hectares for the Maha season and have begun clearing more than 500,000 more hectares. By tomorrow, paddy fields in Rajarata and other areas across the country will be lush with greenery along with the eco-friendly program. To live in one's own home is a dream come true for any family. Realizing this, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, as a leader who is committed to the people, has taken a number of decisions over the past 2 years to make the citizens' dream of a home a reality. Accordingly, the decision to provide a long-term concessional loan with a low interest rate to purchase a home for the first-time buyers is unique. The total number of Grama Nilladhari divisions in our country is 14,022. The program to construct new houses in each of these Grama Nilladhari divisions for the families that do not own a house was also launched. A number of housing projects for the middle-income earning families are also already in operation. Another key issue in the Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor policy statement is providing solutions to unemployment. In particular, the previous Yahapalana government treated the graduates who were seeking employment with rubber bullets and tear gas instead of employment opportunities. Among the immediate decisions taken by the President after assuming duties, the recruitment of 50,000 graduates into the public service is highly commendable. Another 10,000 qualified graduates who were not included in the first phase of the program were recruited with a special approval. Accordingly, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has been able to provide a stable income to 60,000 families with state protection. Outdated politicians did nothing to provide the low-income earning people anything more than a few roofing sheets and a parcel of dry ration. That is the nature of the narrow political culture that depends on preferences. The President took steps to change that concept completely. Accordingly, action was taken to provide employment opportunities to 100,000 youth coming from low-income families and have no adequate educational qualifications. A basic training was also given to them. The rapid development of the irrigation sector will help in achieving development goals such as increasing national food production and poverty alleviation. To this end, all tanks in each divisional secretariat division will be rehabilitated. The number of tanks being rehabilitated under the Vari Saubhagya program is 5,000. At the same time, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's objective is to meet the drinking and agricultural water needs of the people by rebuilding all reservoirs and agricultural irrigation systems. Communication is the main function of language, which is a great physical heritage as well as social heritage of humans. However, there are still a number of villages without any basic communication facilities. The communication to the village program is being implemented on the direct instruction of the President to improve online education in schools and overcome geographical challenges for the development of the communication infrastructure in remote villages by setting up an island-wide high-speed network coverage. Accordingly, network coverages are already being expanded in Kurinagala, Ratnapura, Matara, Anuradhapura and Badulla districts. The youths of this country have fallen prey to the menace of illicit drugs for quite some time. By the time the President took over the country, this sacred place had become a playground for drug traffickers. In addition to the police department, the Special Task Force was also ordered to conduct operations on narcotics. The security forces were given full powers to crack down on organized crime. The underworld that transformed the entire country into a shooting range has gone quiet now. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa personally inquired into this matter. The Narcotics Bureau, along with the Navy, on the orders of the President, seized a large haul of narcotics that were en route to the country in the high seas. A number of leading drug traffickers were arrested. The Department of Prisons underwent a complete overhaul. This helped to end the crimes committed and operated by organized criminals and drug traffickers from inside the prison. A program to rehabilitate those who are addicted to drugs was also initiated. Also, the entire country witnessed how, for the first time, a president joined an inspection visit to the prison. Accordingly, the detainees, including 16 LTTE suspects who have undergone a formal rehabilitation process, received a pardon on the orders of the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Giving President Gotabaya Rajapaksa a mandate of over 6.9 million votes, the people of Sri Lanka hope to revive the socio-economic fabric of the country, which had been embroiled in volatile politics for more than 7 decades after independence. A number of policy decisions were taken to steer the country in the right direction, as promised during the presidential election campaign. The President stopped pointing fingers at and criticizing previous governments and the rulers and looked steps to move his program forward efficiently.
අපි සෞභාග්‍ය දැක්මේ ඉදිරිපත් කර තිබෙන ඒ විප්ලවීය වෙනස කරනවා.
He made public institutions more efficient, stopped corruption prevalent in them, and established a citizen-friendly public service. The President ordered not to display photographs of himself in government institutions and instructed to display the national emblem instead, thus setting a new example as a president. Instead of attacking the protesters with tear gas and batons, a separate venue was set aside near the Presidential Secretariat to assert the democratic rights of protesters. Not only that, the President went among the protesters and took steps to provide immediate solutions to their problems. The President took a firm decision to stop the importation of many food crops that are being produced locally with the primary objective of protecting the local farmer. The decision ensured that the traditional farmer would receive a reasonable price. The President's decision also saved a large amount of dollars which flowed out of the country. The challenge Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who took over as the 7th Executive President, had to face was not easy. The country is now open under the new normalization. The collapsed economy must be rebuilt, with national security at the forefront. People's lives must be uplifted. The country needs to move forward. The promise of creating a prosperous new country for future generations must be fulfilled. The President is by no means ready to relinquish the grave responsibility of facing the challenges and determining the direction of the country beyond these challenges. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has embarked on a journey to build a prosperous country together with the Sri Lankan people who are emerging with renewed vigor to win the dawning year amidst the challenges of 2 years of prosperity. That is why the entire country should rally around the President with one objective, leaving aside all differences. Come forward. Let's join hands for a secure nation, a prosperous country.
Parakungamunu pela patina Mahavikum mavana pili vetina Surapurak pela